Today, July 15th, it was announced that Steve Yzerman will no longer serve as the general manager of the Detroit Red Wings. He is moving to an advisor role, so he'll still be part of the organization, but he will no longer be in that GM role. Yzerman was GM of the Tampa Bay Lightning from 2010 until 2018, and the GM of the Red Wings from 2019 until today. On the Lightning, Yzerman was able to build one of the best teams in the NHL. He never won a cup with the Lightning, but 2 years after he left, the Lightning won the Stanley Cup in 2020 and then again in 2021. Yzerman made lots of great trades and draft picks during his tenure as Lightning GM, and I would argue that he is responsible for the Stanley Cup wins. He was drafting guys like Kucherov and Vasilevsky later in the draft and making big trades for players like Ryan McDonough and Mikhail Sergachev, who were huge parts of those early 2020 Lightning teams that were so successful. The Lightning were always contenders when Yzerman was in charge, but it's been a different story in Detroit, with them not making the playoffs for 3 years before Yzerman came in and still not making the playoffs since. So why did things go wrong? Did something change with Yzerman's strategy? I would argue that he kept the same strategy that made Tampa so successful when he went to Detroit. He still drafted well. He joined in 2019, so he cannot be blamed for Philip Zadina 6th overall in the 2018 draft, which is nice. He gets Mo Sider 6th overall in 2019, Lucas Raymond 4th overall in 2020, Simone Edvidson 6th overall in 2021. These are 3 absolute hits in the draft, and all 4th overall or later, no less. I think depth drafting was definitely weaker than it was in Tampa Bay, though, with only a couple of his picks beyond the first round even making it into the NHL, and none of them being actual consistent NHL players. In 2021, he drafts Sebastian Cossa 15th overall, who seems to have some good upside as a goaltender, but he was just traded away at the draft. And the next couple of drafts tell a more interesting story, because as the Red Wings continue to improve, their draft picks get lower and lower. If you're enjoying this video so far, please Scott Stevens smash the subscribe button so this channel can get off the floor and on the board. Thank you all so much for your support so far. And the highest pick Detroit had during his tenure was 4th overall, while they never made the playoffs in that same tenure. In 2022, he gets Marco Kasper 8th overall. In 2023, he has arguably his deepest draft for the Red Wings, picking Nate Danielson 9th overall, Axel Sandin Pellikka 17th overall, and Emmett Finney 201st overall in the 7th round. All players making their way into the Red Wings lineup, but definitely not good enough to make the Red Wings better right now. Yzerman has showed really good aggressiveness with his trades during his tenure too. He is great at recognizing potential and who is lacking potential. He wasn't afraid to trade away Anthony Mantha in 2021 when it was obvious that he wouldn't turn out, even picking up a first, a second, plus some bottom 6 players for him. He then used those assets to acquire the draft pick he needed to draft Sebastian Cossa. In 2023, he makes a great trade for Alex DeBrincat, only giving up some depth pieces, a Bruins first, and his own 4th round pick. In 2025, he finally makes the Gibson trade, only giving up Mrazek, a second, and a 4th. In 2026, he trades for Justin Falk for a playoff push, and with his final big trade at the 2026 draft, he trades away Sebastian Cossa for the 23rd overall pick in the draft. Yzerman to me is the definition of a hockey GM. He is never afraid to make a hockey trade. But was it just not enough? When going through these trades, we see that he makes a big trade once every 2 years, and he drafted well, but he was never able to get that superstar that most NHL teams have. The Detroit Red Wings have been pushing to be a playoff team for years at this point, and 2026 was the first time that they traded away their first round pick. Yzerman showed with the Lightning that he knows how to keep a team in the playoffs, but with the Red Wings, he just wasn't able to break the playoff bubble. Every year, I feel like the Red Wings are 1 or 2 good trades away from making the playoffs, but Yzerman held on to that first round pick every year, and since 2023, they have definitely had a pick to spare. Only 14 NHL games have been played from his picks in the 2024 and 2025 draft. We see how teams like the Panthers and even the Lightning, when Yzerman was in charge, acquire players every year and start stacking up and building up those Stanley Cup winning teams because they know they're making the playoffs. And it seemed like Cossa was a year or 2 away from being in the league, and he traded him away for a player that is probably 3 or 4 years away. This move to me is representative of the step back that the Red Wings are going to take now, but I honestly don't think Yzerman ever had faith this team would even make the playoffs. If he did, he would have made moves with a lot of those draft picks. He never treated the Red Wings like they were a playoff team, and I think that it made him nervous to make big moves. But now with Larkin leaving the team, it seems like the Red Wings are going to have to take a huge step back. Yzerman led the team on the ice when they were one of the most dominant teams in the NHL, but now he's leaving them as the team with the longest playoff drought in the league. Thank you all so much for watching. Comment your thoughts below, leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more.